Hi everyone, Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios here, and today I'm with Martin from Goodwin Sonic. And as you can see, this is not one of their guitars. That's not what this video is about. This is a Squier Telecaster. This bit is not. So, this is a whole new, different kind of bridge. Tell me about it.
I'm not a fan of Fender bridges for lots of different reasons. I think it's one of these kind of anomalous situations where somebody tried one of the initial Telecaster bridges and said, oh, you can't internote the thing. And he went back to his Vice on his bench and he came up, Leo Fender came up with something, this sort of ashtray design. Well, not the cover, but the actual, the base plate, that kind of pressed steel thing. And then horrible little bits of like cut off bar with screws going into them, and it seemed to me to be like a working prototype. It didn't actually look like a product, and unfortunately, because of who played these guitars and the annals of history and all the rest of it, that's become a fixed kind of thing. And
it's always been said that Fenders were designed by accountants, hasn't it? Because that was the thing, is how cheap can we make it?
Yeah, you have to be fair. I mean, they're tools, aren't they? And people have made an incredible sort of legacy of music with them. So it didn't seem to hold things back too much. But we're now in the realms of trying to get the last few % out of everything. And what can we do to actually improve, basically a stock design. And what really got me thinking about it was I watched a TED talk by Paul Reed-Smith talking about the guitar as a system and how energy, if you want a guitar to speak to you, for instance, you take a Stradivarius violin, you've got a 100-piece orchestra, and that thing will speak to the very back seat in an auditorium because of the way it's made. So this obviously makes a fundamental difference. And then when I was looking at the way the stock kind of S-type bridge works and the number of points at which the string can lose energy, I thought, well, let's start throwing bits away and let's see if there's a way to do it, make a difference. And I came up with that design, and very fortunately for me, and really very importantly, my boss at the company I was working for actually wanted to fund me to actually get it up as a startup, and he's funded a patent to be brought out on the bridge, which our application is still pending, but we're hopeful. So it's unique in the sense that we can actually patent it. It's sufficiently novel to be patentable. And the way that I've got it down to the number of pieces that I have is that the saddles are actually only kept in place by the tension on the strings. So you've lost your intonation screws. Your action height adjustment is done from the rear, so that gets rid of you lose 6 screws per saddle because the action height adjustment is from the rear.
So that's in place of where it would be the string through?
That's right. That's how I'm able to make it as streamlined as I am. On the Strat.
That threw me off because I saw the string through before we started filming with no strings in it.
Yeah.
But now is it hex keys?
Exactly the same as you would normally have, yeah.
But from there, that's clever. Yes. Okay,
and of course with the Strat, normally you've got a cavity anyway. So all of that is accessible from the rear.
Right.
And what I've done is I've taken care to make sure that the same hole pattern as Fender use on their guitars, my thing dropped in place of it. So say for instance you bought one of my bridges, you wanted to move it onto another guitar, you could unbolt it, unscrew it, you could put your original Fender bridge back on, sell the guitar, put this on another one. There would be no physical change to the body. There's no routing to be done.
That counts for a lot, because like one of my favourite bridges that I have at the moment is an Evertune bridge. That is a leap. You have to take that leap. You cannot go back.
Yeah.
Because it's about the size of 3 fists put together, and you have to route all the wood out.
Yeah.
You're never going back. Whereas with something that you can do like this, and like you say, then try it on different guitars. That's a big plus.
Yeah, I mean, same with your Floyd Roses, where you have to route. You've got to have room for that action to dive the other way.
So this is a hardtail option.
Yes.
Sorry, right.
Yeah.
Which speaks to me because I don't use the wiggle sticks at all personally.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not looking to conquer the world. I know a lot of people do like tremolos and they want to carry on using them. That's fair enough. But there must be so many blocked tremolos because they won't stay in tune. And well, why not try something different? And,
absolutely.
From our research, the hardtail Strats as they came from the factory were well thought of, had really good sustain, really good sound, and it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, tremolo arms are only there for people who use trems, which sounds like an obvious thing to say, but that's not actually a huge number of guitarists. Like for me, tuning stability comes over everything. So that's the kind of thing where I'm really liking the idea here. Now, currently, I think there are a couple of caveats. So the way that the string is mounted currently, you were saying it uses the Fender Bullet system.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering if something for a Mark II version would be the mounting system. If you could just make them deeper, then you could have the kind of the wound bit of the string, which is a pain, honestly. They are a pain inside that, because that's what some of the headless systems do. They kind of contain that section further back.
Yeah. Well, it's something that, at the moment, I've got to try and get this to the marketplace, and I understand that people are very, very loyal to their brand of strings, and it's something that's particular to their sound.
Yes.
Personally, I think it wouldn't hurt to try the strings. I think they're very good, but
But guitarists are the way they are.
That aside, I think that's going to limit my market, and it's something that I'm investigating. Now, the way I feel that it's probably more likely to circumvent Fender's patent on the actual bullet end is to come up with some way of terminating the string as you would say on a Floyd Rose, where you chop off your ball end and you've got your little vices which don't work sometimes.
But yeah, I was talking to Lee Fuge over a coffee this morning after the walkthrough, and we said exactly that. That if you could mount the string backwards, like with the Floyd, you end up with the ball end kind of wiggling, and then you cut them off, so it's no problem. That could also work. So, but that's one of the two that I really like this idea. Currently, I mean, let's say it's in the development phase, I would say.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not really even a company. We've just literally started at the back end of last year. And I don't know what I'm doing. Please bear with me. I've been a company director for a number of weeks, and it's an alien world to me. I like engineering. I know what I'm doing with engineering. This, I'm kind of feeling my way, but.
And you know what, Martin, I really appreciate that, because there were so many people who would go into this as the big I am, like, I know what I'm doing, I've got the best product in the world. I think that honesty really goes a long way, because then people understand that things are, the only way is up.
Yeah.
And this is a great idea. I put my palm on that and it felt really nice. That is a big start.
Well, it's ergonomics for a start. I mean, that's not the only thing that it does, because of the way that string's connected and the fact that it goes directly from A to B. You don't tend to get string breakages. In fact, I've had hardly any. I think I only broke a string in about 2 years because I wasn't using a tuner and I was trying to get it to position and I wound it up too tight. Right. That's the only string I've ever broken.
Well, that makes sense. If you can, I don't know, which camera could we see the close of the bridge on? Just point me in the right direction. Cool. So the string comes out at a perfect angle there, whereas if you look at almost any bridge, they sit and have a break angle.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense to me, to have the straight out no angle. There's I find that most guitar strings that break either at the bridge or somewhere up at the headstock where they've not quite been wound right, which when you change the strings every 2 shows or 3 days, inevitably that will happen at some point.
Yeah.
But having taken away that point of breakage, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so with the extra kind of high frequencies that you get from not interrupting the path of that wave of energy, Well, no, I've said that the wrong way round. You are interrupting it. You're interrupting it absolutely because it comes to a brick wall. Then the energy has to go back the other way. So your sustain's improved, and then the high frequency content doesn't leach away into these little minor contacts you've got with the other components in the bridge. And so for that reason, and the fact that they don't break, you're going to go through less strings anyway because they stay fresher for longer. You get like fresh string plus sound to start with, and after a few weeks you've got fresh string sound, and then after that you've got dead string sound.
Well,
so
as is tradition.
Yeah, but they start from a higher position. You've got more tonal information there anyway, and I can hear it, and I've been hammering bits of metal for years.
Right, so that's your background.
Yeah,
is it
so
metalwork machinery or design?
Yes,
or?
metalwork machinery, welding.
Right, so that really feeds into the design of this. The one thing that I would personally like to tweak a little is this drop off here on the metal, but that might just be me.
Well, this is
just rounding that off. Yeah. Again, as a personal thing, I just noticed then that it didn't hurt me because it's nice and soft. So again,
it could be rounder.
No complaints at all, but that's what I would like to see. And that's one of my complaints about the ashtray cover. Is that it drops off.
It's very thin, yeah.
Yeah, so either you would have to keep your hand completely away from it, or it digs into your hand, which goes back to the original bridges, which I'm pretty sure I've got scars on my right hand from screws on the bridges digging into me and shows. Yeah. I mean, it's been the same for me on bass with the traditional jazz bass bridge, which is basically the stratocaster bridge, but the hardtail bridge, but just with 4 instead of 6. The screws, as they age, if they get a little sharp, they dig into you and they hurt. And
I think many people have done shows with a guitar covered in blood.
Right?
Because you can't stop.
Absolutely. I've to the point for me as well where my original bridges have had to be replaced because the amount of sweat that's got into the screws has rusted them entirely to the point where you can't get a hex head in. Whereas this kind of design, what kind of metal is it?
That's a 300 series stainless steel.
Right, so that's not going to do
you can chuck that in a bucket of salt water for a month and come back, and then put it back on your guitar, and it will still work.
So that's exactly the same as taking it on tour.
Yeah, but now here's an interesting aside to that. And if you can go and look up Bill Lawrence's work on pickups, but he talks a lot about eddy currents that are caused by ferric materials around the actual pickups themselves. And an eddy current will fight against the signal that the pickup wants to put out.
Right.
So, I mean, sometimes it can shape the sound. Sometimes they even design, like on the back of a telly pickup, they've got a plate there as a kind of keeper, but that's also to shape the tone. So if you go sticking it in a normal piece of chrome plated steel, then you are going to alter the sound of it. And I'm not saying that necessarily is always good or always bad, but it will alter the sound of it.
Right.
Now with these types of stainless steel, because they're non-magnetic, they don't have any effect on the output of the pickup whatsoever. So that is another aside to it, that not only is it through and through stainless steel, you can't scrape a coating off it.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you do to it. You could scratch it. If you scratch up chrome-plated steel, it will start to corrode.
Of course, that's always been a problem for me. Is that yes, you would think, the human hand can't chip away steel. You would think, but over a tour, you'd be amazed how just one glance at the wrong time can just weaken something. And then over a course of years, that eventually you get metal fatigue and it flakes and it chips. And then once you've got one chip in the coating, hello, rust. So that's a really nice thing. The other thing that I've noticed is the bottom string here, I can just see a little screw thread. Yeah. So that's how you're doing the intonation?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so the intonation is the same as your access for the string. Yeah, so essentially in the rear, if you pardon the expression, you've got access for your string to come through, and then it sits in a hollow screw, and your intonation adjustment is with a screwdriver, and the rear of that threaded barrel is slotted. Right. So you just basically come in behind, and then you just turn it until it's in the right position.
Right.
Now, I appreciate that what that does, if your intonation has drifted a long way, that actually introduces a torsion in the string because the barrel follows. But with one relaxation of the string, everything goes ping and it's all back as it was.
Yeah, that's not something I would worry about because generally I would be setting extreme intonation changes at the same time as a full setup.
Yeah.
So small tweaks, I can't see that being a problem.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, you're usually going to be changing your strings and starting off from somewhere close to where you need to be anyway. So it wouldn't make any difference. I mean, there is another development that I could do where you run another ring in the back which butts up against your intonation barrel and locks it in place so it can never drift. Yeah. So that's another thing you could do. But I think it's probably unnecessary.
That could be good for the extreme metal players.
Yeah. It's more likely that you're going to have to adjust because of corrosion or stuff like that, and your strings are not speaking properly in the way that they should.
Well, yeah, if you're changing your strings regularly, ladies and gentlemen, then that shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, I really like the concept on this. It feels to me like some of the headless guitar bridges that I've played, but smoother. And I definitely like the smooth. I think because I do a lot of rock stuff where I would do some of the, from dual mode there. Oh, it's on the foot switch. That kind of. Yeah, that isn't digging into me as I dig into it. And that's really important. Obviously, I'm on a neck pickup of a telly, so that didn't sound like crushing metal. But the feel for me then was important, and I can feel it pushing back at me a little.
I'll go and revisit that.
Yeah, it's certainly not painful.
I can explain actually that I can tailor the thing to be exactly the way you want it, and I do another style of block where that cutaway is not there. If you're playing a lot of funk and you don't want to be palm muting, to be honest, your intonation points are not that far back from the front of these saddles anyway.
Yes.
You might prefer the thing to be like that, and I can round that as much as you want.
Well, interestingly for me,
there's different styles depending on what you want to do.
Behind there, if I was palm muting, that doesn't touch the back inch there, so that would be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Either way for me, I would think.
Incidentally, with a Telecaster, the geometry of the guitar is slightly different than the Strat, and I've brought the actual saddles further forward just simply so that I can hide the screw holes.
Right.
So as you can see, the intonation points on a Strat, I'll put that there. I don't know if you can see that.
So you've kind of opened
the intonation points are further back. That's just because of the physical nature of the tremolo bridge.
Right, so it's mounted further forward, but the intonation point is where it should be.
And so with the telly, because you've got a flat plate, you've got a bigger bit of real estate basically to position where this wants to be, the ideal position.
Well, that's nice, but again, in terms of where the hand goes, I would have thought the hand is never going further back than the end of the string. So, I mean, unless you've got hands like kind of dinner plates where maybe you would go further back, maybe somebody does that. I don't know who that would be, but who knows? That interface right there on that line is probably where most guitarists that contact the bridge will feel it in the hands. And I think that if that's a softer angle there, that could really make a nice difference.
Yeah, I'm open to constructive criticism.
But let's say that already feels a million times better than having the traditional telly bridge screws in my hand. And so...
Yeah, for penance, I carry a Fender bridge with me and I dig it into my hand just to remind me why I'm doing this.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for showing this to us. It is a really bright sound as well. I'm going to take the... That's just me playing too far. That is really nice. Martin, thank you very much for your time. And check out the Goodwin Sonic bridge. The website is going to be down in the description, and we'll definitely be following this up and talking to you in the future and see if we can do a video about the development and how it goes and
Yeah.
where it goes.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see, because you said that these are a removable design, whether you could do a Gibson one that mounts on the string posts.
Yeah, well, anything is possible. I tended to I've left them alone for a minute because, with a wraparound bridge, it's a hardtail anyway.
Yes.
So, I think
of course, what I say is heresy, and I will be burned at the stake by some Gibson players.
But yeah, I mean, I'm open to try and attempt to do anything for anyone.
Especially if the idea is something that is drop-in.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting premise right there.
Yeah, it has to be. I don't see somebody defacing a potentially really valuable instrument to try something.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would like to think that once they tried it, they wouldn't want to take it off. But
yeah,
it just gives you that extra reassurance that, I'm not committed to this.
Yes. There are a lot of guitarists out there I know who are tinkerers. I'm one of them. Where if you can try something else and try something else and try something else, that's part of the fun. And so, yeah, that kind of being able to go, well, this is something you can try, no risk, or at least minimal risk depending on your ability to install a bridge. But that's something we'll leave for the viewers. That's really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of this. So thank you everybody for watching. Thanks Mike and Lewis for putting on the British Boutique Guitar Festival. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hot Pole Studios. See you there.